Well, I guess we should just go here. It's night number one in Charleston, back on couch tour for me, and it was a night of more surprises, and then even a surprise, perhaps on top of a surprise. I don't know if you see what I'm alluding to. What I'm saying is, Sightless Escape was pretty good. That's spoiler alert. Shocking, right? Sightless Escape, and I'll say, and I like to think that I'm pretty quick to the draw on what the song is. It doesn't take me too long to be like, oh, okay, Twist, whatever it is, Down with Disease, Free, the opener tonight. Once you start to hear, sometimes you don't even hear like a full note or something, but not the case with Sight. Well, so much for let's just get going. 45 seconds carrying on about Sightless Escape. Well, it was great though, really. It's a lot. They kept every time you thought, okay, maybe that's it for the night. No, certainly not it. Another strong first set. That's been not that every show has had a strong first set, or the first sets haven't really necessarily been outdoing the seconds, but they've been good. All right, so Free was the opener. All right, I'm going to probably now rush through the first set a little bit. And then, Free and Rift come out. Free, a very predictable opener, apparently. Many people in the Pix video. And while I don't want to say, if I say it's kind of a standard opener, that's not a knock on it or anything, but it's just kind of a fact. It feels like a very standard opener, no? All right? Can we all agree on that? And then Rift right after. I don't know if it's the summer debut of Rift or not, but perhaps it is. Rift, one of the songs. Suzy, another one, feeling like songs that at one time were strong regulars. Just less and less play over the last year or so. So many more coming in. Songs like Final Hurrah just hanging on. All right, so then Spanish Moon. Oh, I was so close. Not to make this all about the Pix video, but I was so close with the skin it back long shot call. Instead, it's Spanish Moon. Spud, it's Bon Bon in the house tonight. Big supporters and fans of the channel and the band. They were, Spud, a big fan of the Moon. Certainly fired up for that one. And, another cover from another Halloween show, a time they've dipped into, a band that they've dipped into for Halloween, and then here they are, appearing in a Phish show all these years later. Reba, where was she? Well, really is what we care about. Was it played pretty well? Yeah. Was the jam pretty good? Yeah. Check. Boom. That's what we got. Nothing, nothing really extraordinary, just an extraordinary Reba, really. Other than that, nothing extraordinary. Devotion to a Dream, tonight's big surprise, I would say. Maybe not to all, but to me and many. And one that, maybe some songs that they're dusting off, I don't know how others feel, but I'm thinking maybe there's a reason they were gone, You can see, like someone the other day asked me, why don't Phish fans boo when there's a song, whether if it's Lonely Trip or Waiting All Night or whatever it is? If the majority of the crowd's not liking it, why don't they boo? And firstly, a lot of times fans will just go and take that as an opportunity to get a beer or to pee and maybe even dookie. Depends on the song, Petrichor, perhaps. You got a chance to dookie during that one. Well, and secondly, I would say, and that's got to be just as effective as a boo. I saw like 2,000 people walk out at once during one of those Fall Nutter Center shows. I don't remember the song, but it was just like, it was a big chunk of the crowd, just like every exit aisle, just full of people leaving. That's got to be just as effective as a boo. And secondly, I would say Phish fans are not just total animals. We do still respect the band, and, we admire them and what they're doing. And even if we don't really approve or love a song, or it's not one we would choose, we're not going to boo. Boo! Play something I want. Boo! And this is even after my behavior in Columbus, I'm saying this, Take everything so seriously. All right, so then, Devotion to, that was a lot of time spent on Devotion to a Dream. Song that probably never should have been played, really, on Final Hurrah, though. However, I'm very glad they played Final Hurrah. And much like, basically since the post-Halloween Casbah, every time they play those songs, they're pretty cool. And maybe while they're not as heavy as they once were in the rotation, they're still hanging on. We dip back into the bluegrass tonight. Seems like we're either getting like a Mike song or a something from the Mike catalog or a bluegrass tune, which we're just going to say is a Mike song. My mind's got a mind of its own tonight. Always going to remind me of the Nutter Center 97 fondly. Oh, what a show. So then, Hey Stranger, one of my favorites of the new songs, so it didn't take them long. Not a whole lot of downtime throughout the first set. Hey Strangers, one of my favorites of the newer songs. And then Taste and Walls kind of felt like it was going together here. Oh, two songs from two very separate eras. Kind of felt like a combo ending the set strong. Big, powerful set ender, Walls of the Cave, as it's become. So we got a little bit of a standard open, a little bit of a standard close. Everything else in between, other than the unwelcome Devotion to a Dream, Devotion to a Phish Stream. All right, so now we move over to Llama. It was a slow Llama tonight, you know, controversial in some circles, the slow Llama. Whatever, it's still Llama, you know. I did put the slow on the whiteboard, I guess, so it should be it is classified, I suppose, as slow Llama. I'm not. It just didn't. It just feels like, well, if you why the set opener though? I feel not that it's mandatory to come out smoking to open a set, especially the second set, but a slow song like that, I don't know. Just anywhere else, I'd have been like, all right, so a slow Llama here. Maybe even your moment to calm down, like which was not a lot here in the second set. Maybe the early part of the well. The well was even good before the turn tonight, really. Very bluesy Trey, the blues man, Trey. All right, so after the slow Llama set started, Down with Disease, oh my God, it just would never end, really, in a good way. Just kind of just so many peaks and valleys. Different, just many times, you know, not that they're all alike, but they do have the similar format where, like, look, at one point maybe Mike is leading and then Paige is going crazy and then Trey gets into the mix and eventually takes the lead and then all three guys closely behind and you're just getting these big crescendos. But then many of them, one time there was just this real crunchy bass sound from Mike and then Paige is over here. Seemed like a much faster tempo, just playing maybe in his own world, but then it was driving Mike and then Fishman and Trey not far behind, and that was the point that kind of led us finally to an end in Down with Disease. Not really taking a break into Twist, but a much calmer jam that did not have as many peaks and valleys. And then into the well, as I mentioned, a strong well tonight. You know, normally the well's all about, all right, when the song switches. Now things have changed. Well, even the kind of the blues, like I said, the blues man Trey coming out tonight for the early section of the well. And then Sightless Escape, shockingly good tonight. Sightless Escape, a Ghost of the Forest song that I barely know, you know, never have really loved. You know, maybe the other versions have been this good, but I do not recall. And it was, you know, just a very fishy sounding jam, you know, really. It didn't have everything that Down with Disease had. I mean, my God, they only got so many of those in them, you would think per tour, let alone a night. So then we get a little bit of a rocket ending here. Another powerful set ending, Chalk Dust Suzy. More familiar standard enders, but that's all right. Again, once again, this certainly wasn't necessarily a start. When's the Circus Comes to Town has been somewhat absent. Okay, not going to complain about that. First two hasn't been overplayed this summer. Ending the night, Trey having fun, of course. Paige really smiled. It was very early on and free. I think Paige was smiling. Maybe he looked over and saw Mike for the first time and was like, "What is he wearing?" Trey looking a little bit like 2.0 Trey with the baggy clothes. You know, not that he should be wearing skinny jeans at his age like Mike was a few years ago. Ridiculously. I don't know. So, that was night one in Charleston. Walls of the Cave, shockingly. The final Hurrah, not a really big, not a surprise that the final Hurrah was good. But Sightless Escape, wow, who saw it coming? More red. Just because it was shocking. Down with Disease. Wow. Woo! All right, we're out of here. Just wooed you. Flashbacks to the Vultures in Columbus. Boom, we're out of here. Love you guys. Oh, yeah, and once again, how could I forget? He joined us once again for the recap. I didn't step on him once again. Look at him. He's amazing. He's a sleeper. Somewhere around, I think tonight it was the well. He was like, I'm out. He was like, my mind has got a mind of its own, and I'm going to the bottom of the well. I'm going to sleep there for a while. I was going to think about turkey and giblets. All right, guys, we're out of here. Boom. Love you. Charleston, night 2, coming soon. Probably going to be even better. Not that tonight was bad or anything.